You always seem to be booked out.
40 weddings for 2024 already, so it's pretty much kind of maxed.
My idea, and I'm going to put out there for those that haven't heard it.
What on earth are you shooting and what on earth have you got in all those bags?
Exhibiting at a wedding fair for it to be worth doing.
I've got a wedding on a Saturday. Sometimes I've even got up at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
And I've never ever seen a post anyone complaining that they spent £500 at a wedding fair and didn't get any booked.
Yeah, because... And I think the reason that is, that's such a good point.
Because I send a voice message, they're more likely to send a voice message back.
I think you've got to be fairly skilled at face-to-face sales.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Get Seen, Get Booked podcast for wedding photographers and videographers. Today we have Adam Chetter from Adam Chetter Wedding Films, and again, this is another guy from the northeast of England. And like I said on one of the previous episodes, I absolutely point blank refuse to say a Geordie because I'm a Sunderland fan and I hate being labelled as a Geordie. And me and Jamie are both from South Shields, and he has a little pub trivia thing for you. If you ever get asked what people from South Shields are called, we're called sand dancers. Jamie, yeah. I'm just giving some people some little tips there if they're ever in a pub quiz. How you doing, mate?
Cushy, mate. Excited to get into this with Adam here. It's going to be really interesting. I think he's going to relate to a lot of people watching, and I think it's going to be a really good one.
Just bring him on, Adam. Welcome, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. So just with you saying about Geordies and Mackems, how was your last weekend? Because last weekend there was a big game, wasn't there?
Yeah, I don't know much about that. We'll not talk about that. Yeah, Sunderland got beat off Newcastle, but I don't feel like it was a fair trade off in previous years where we're a little bit of a less side these days.
You did give 3 goals though, so
it was terrible. I was at the match and it was we got played off the park, to be honest. It was men against boys. Adam, do you just want to give everyone just a quick rundown, a bit about your background and how you got into wedding films and what it is that you do?
Yeah, sure. So my background is I wanted to get into videography since probably about 8 years old. Badgered my parents for a little video camera, which I think at the time was probably a high 8 or a video 8 camera, and basically just did a little kind of like family videos. Shot my first wedding, which kind of showed me age, on the day of Princess Diana's funeral. So that was back in 1997. I was at college, university at the time, doing a few little bits of projects. I probably only did about 5 or 6 weddings. Didn't enjoy them whatsoever. I kind of went from that was the era where everything was on tape and you having to copy from one deck to another, and I had no kind of effects or kind of no kind of the idea of music bed was just like a distant kind of memory. And around the time I was also doing issue-based videos and working with likes of Bernardo's, some pretty big charities. And when the children come along, I've got two kids. When the kids came along, I gave up video for about 8 years, sold all my gear, didn't have any intention whatsoever of getting back into video production. And I just kind of fell back into it. I had some holiday homes up in Northumberland, and I decided I wanted a video production of the videos, a little promo video. Got some prices, and I thought it's cheaper to buy my own camera. So I bought the old kind of the very first DJI Osmo, which was terrible. So I bought that, and just things kind of gradually went on. My colleague says, "Oh, you've got all the gear now. Do you fancy doing a wedding?" I thought, don't like weddings. Did my first wedding, charged £250, and that was for me, my colleague, and just loved it. And that was April 2018, and then never looked back. And obviously, the first time I was doing weddings, the only thing I had was a tripod and a camera. And now we've went into an age where it's everything, social media, YouTube, gimbals, drones, sliders, everything. So it's a total different world back then. No DVDs.
Yeah, I've seen some of your stories on Instagram of your kit list and stuff, and some of the bags that you carry. I remember messaging you or just replying to one of your stories saying, "What on earth are you shooting and what on earth have you got in all those bags?" He has me with one bag, and I thought I had a lot of equipment, and you had about 1,500 bags in the back of your car.
Well, I'm down to one bag, so I've got this Think Tank bag, which wasn't the cheapest bag, but it's amazing. I can actually fit my daughter inside it. It's that big. it's perfect for when when you do weddings and you've got you're moving from one ceremony room to reception room. If it's a multi-room venue, it's perfect just to fit everything in. It's only one trip to the car, which is which is great.
Yeah. One thing Jamie said there in the introduction is that he thinks you're going to be quite relatable to like a lot of our listeners, like obviously inside of the Get Seen, Get Booked Facebook group. I think probably about 90% of the wedding photographers and videographers are in there. They're probably like on the same average pricing that me and you are both in, Adam. Probably there's a lot of people in there who are charging like between 1,500 and up to 2,000. We'll obviously have other people who are charging more than that. But one thing that I was kind of interested in getting into you with was, we know that you're around about an average 2,000. I know you might charge a little bit more than that sometimes, depend on the wedding, but you always seem to be booked out. So I know for 2024, you're nearly full. 2025, I know you've got limited spaces. So what are you doing to get your bookings? Like, can you just give like a run through of where your bookings come from, how you're doing, how are you getting so many? Because I think you said, was it over 40 weddings you've got for 24 already?
So I've got about 40 weddings for 2024 already. So it's pretty much kind of maxed out for this year. In terms of the marketing side of things, it's kind of, a lot of referrals, a lot of venue referrals, and couples, who have shot their weddings. I think when you're first starting out, it is hard to try and get referrals, because once you kind of get elevated from, I said before, my first wedding was £250, whereas now I'm up to average just 221, and it's hard to try and make that elevation from that group of friends who are charging. There's a lot of videographers now you see on social media who are charging like £400, and I think the transition from that point, if they want to get in the higher price bracket, and you've kind of got a social network and social friends of who are charging 500, 600 quid. It is hard to try and make that group. So it is a long kind of process. So in terms of me, I do a lot of kind of social media. I don't even think I'm the best on social media, and I think yeah. So, and I think also, as well as, which you're probably going to touch on as well, workflows. I try to get weddings kind of delivered really quickly, and I always think in terms of, I've always said about if I kind of turn around a wedding quite quickly, and definitely in less than a week, everyone who's part of that wedding is still in the emotion of the wedding day, so they're more likely to share it. Whereas if you deliver a wedding film 4, 5, 6 months down the line, the moment's gone. You go to a lot of weddings these days where every month friends are at a different wedding. So I think it's just about trying to keep it consistent and try and push your brand a little bit further.
You say there that you're not very good on social media, but I think what you are, I think you're very consistent, because when I go on Instagram, like obviously there'll be days where I haven't seen you, but just thinking back, I'm thinking, oh God, I see a story from Adam Chetter every single time I go on to Instagram. So how often are you posting? Because one thing I noticed with your Instagram stories as well, you like you brand them, don't you? So you must be using you've come up with this brand and you've got branded templates. Like, did you just decide you were going to do that? What was the crack behind that?
Yeah, so I've got basically I use Canva. Although I am a graphic designer, I've got a graphic design and print company as well. That's another kind of sidearm that I've got. So I've kind of come from like a world of Photoshop, and to use Canva, which you think, it's a kind of almost a dirty word. It's almost like videographer saying I'm using, iMovie to edit. So I use Canva for that, and basically on my phone I've got loads of templates. Just save them as PNG, transparent PNGs. Loads of templates on my phone, and just overlay them. And I've created kind of lots of like templates within Premiere Pro where I can kind of just drop things as well.
Because you're talking Jamie's well, like Jamie comes from a bit of a graphics background as well, don't you, Jamie?
Yeah, I used to do graphic design, and it's the stuff that counts. So I used to make posters, and I used to pride myself on the ability to cut people out, because I would really be meticulous. And now you literally click a button and Canva does it more perfect than any single hand could do it in a Photoshop. And it's just like, so it makes you laugh, but then also want to snap your laptop in half at the same time.
Did you start making them, Jamie, for wrestling?
Yeah, for professional wrestling shows. That's what I was making them for, and a few other like promotional stuff as well. But
interesting fact about Jamie, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you, Jamie, because we haven't talked about this on the podcast. That Jamie's actually, well, I'd say, a retired pro wrestler.
I used to be way back when. The Butlins warrior. If you've been to Butlins and watched the wrestling, you've probably seen me. But yeah,
So
that was
have you
another
still
like.
got? So obviously you'll be getting jealous with seeing all these gladiators wearing Lycra now, yeah, Jamie?
Oh no! Well, actually, the last rendition of Gladiators, they came to our wrestling team, 4 Gladiators, and ended up being, I think it was 3 of them. 3 of the lads went in because they were proper, like it was like the reboot. It was, they may as well have called it Gladiators 2000 or something. It was ridiculous. Like it was. But yeah, a couple of the wrestling team lads got on there. They actually came to the. I was nowhere near anyway getting on anywhere near the Gladiators, but I haven't watched the new one actually. I don't know if it's any good.
No, it got
Oh,
released at the weekend.
it's amazing. They've kept, if you look at it, it's basically they've kept the style from 1992. Yeah, so
Nice.
We're
it's
getting to some
amazing.
odd conversations on a wedding podcast. I was talking about last week. I was talking about Sam Sulek. This week we're talking about gladiators. But going back to the Instagram stuff, Adam, what about like the type of content that you're posting on there? Like, have you started, because you're so consistent? Have you started to work out and find what types of content from a wedding is working best? Like, what grabs the attention the most, or what's getting the best engagement? Is there certain parts of the day that you're finding works better than others?
I'm really bad with looking at analytics and engagement and things like that, and I should actually look at it more. I think the problem with being a solo videographer, and like everyone, probably the majority of people who are going to be watching this, there's so much to do when you run your own wedding videography business. You're the main shooter, you're the customer services rep, you're social media expert, you're doing all the marketing, you're managing all your kit. And I think what kind of works best, the question about what works best for me, I try to be as diverse as possible. Edit little bits of speeches, which I'm trying to do now. Sometimes I always think my stories are probably too long, so I need to try and get into a routine of maybe trying to going from 60 seconds to maybe 15 seconds. So it's just about trying to be consistent. I try to do couple shots as well. Where the last few weddings I haven't directed any kind of couple shots. Some some of my customers and couples don't want couple shots, so it's trying to find the right kind of balance. But yeah, just to try and keep us, and I'm also sharing a lot of suppliers as well, which I think that does get engagement because they're sharing the work on their feeds as well. And I know you mentioned about a lot of kind of templates, and a lot of my templates have got my name and website on the bottom of it. It says like Northeast Wedding Video for Adam Chetter. And the only reason I do that is because when I share it to, when suppliers share it, they're sharing it to their feeds, it's got my little tagline on, so it's getting into people's mindset who I am. Like I said before, you go on social media and you kind of see my name kind of pop up. That's what I do, just to keep it fresh. And you've always got to be trying to step one step of the game. I've kind of seen, especially this year, when people put on Facebook and social media, or does anyone recommend a videographer? The amount of new people to the industry, which is kind of popping up, is kind of like, I think we're now in the stage where photography used to be a few years ago, where there used to be, everyone used to do wedding photography, whereas now it seems to be videography is the new kind of thing. And I always think it's you need to be thinking, you need to have a strategy what you're going to be doing with your business. It's not about now; it's about 2-3 years down the line.
One thing that I think you do great, and it's probably better than I've seen from anyone else, is when I was looking on your website. So one problem that people in the wedding industry have, and I see it in various groups in the UK and the US, is getting testimonials from brides or grooms or couples from weddings that they've shot. But on your website, you seem to have video reactions, audio reactions. You've got like a lot of testimonials, and I think the video and audio testimonials is. I think it's a brilliant idea. Like, it's something I want to try and implement. I've got a couple of couples who agreed to give me video testimonials, and I still haven't managed to get them yet. Can you just talk through kind of what you actually do to get them? Because I think if everyone started to kind of implement video testimonials, I think it's a really good way of like demonstrating like your authority, and it's like a really authentic way of like getting a review.
Yeah, I think this last year has been so hard to try and get video testimonials from couples. Some of my testimonials are probably about 4 years old on the website. I think yeah, I just think it's this year's been just so hard to try and get people to send video testimonies. I think I've probably only got 3, 4 from last year.
Mhm.
And I just kind of dropped them a message and just saying, "Oh, is there any chance you could just send us a little kind of video?" Says, "Don't worry about kind of you know any kind of pauses because it'll all be edited out." But I have had a couple of really good ones this year. I did an ITV News weather reporter,
Seen that one.
weather presenter's wedding, and she was comfortable on camera and she just spoke really highly. But I think when you talk about engagement, you can put everyone has like a few words saying, "Oh, videographer X did an amazing job." But I think once you kind of get the emotion and kind of seeing people's faces, because it's that's what resonates with people a bit more than seeing a it's a bit like it's a bit like tradesmen when you're looking for a tradesman. If you kind of see plumber B did a fantastic job, most of the time it's all bullshit and they've just kind of made it, they've made it up. But what I tend to do is I'll just send them a WhatsApp message saying, can you, any chance you can give us a little testimonial. What's worked really well with me is when I've delivered the video I've sent them, because I use VidFlow to deliver my my
Yeah.
wedding films. So what I tend to do is when I'm delivering the wedding film, is say to them, I'll send a voice note and say, "Oh, thanks very much. I've had hopefully you're still in the honeymoon phase, of your wedding. Thanks so much for inviting us for the day. Thanks so much for feeding us. Food was amazing. Here's your wedding video. Would love to hear what you think of the wedding video." And because I send a voice message, they're more likely to send a voice message back. And there's nothing better than for the couple to send a voice message back to me when they've just watched it, because
Mhm.
you can hear in the voices. Whereas I've had testimonials from 3, 4 months down the line, and and it's more scripted because they're thinking about what they're going to
Mhm.
say, and you don't have that emotion in the voice. But yeah, that's worked quite well for me to get those testimonials.
See, Jamie, where I'm going, what I'm thinking here is right, because I want to, for Above the Action, like I want to start getting some of these video testimonials. What do you think? Because obviously the way we run the Thunderdome system, the way we set the ads up, what's your views on running it as one of the concepts?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a concept that can be run. I think it could work. It depends how you. So, are you talking about like an actual face to camera video?
What I had in my mind there was kind of two ways of doing it. One could be a face to camera, but the other one could be shots from their wedding with a voiceover.
Yeah,
That,
that's
that's kind
exactly
of where
how it
that's kind
would
of
work.
where my brain goes to when I'm thinking of it.
Yeah, I would start it. I would definitely have it as a chop up together because it's just hard to. It's it's really hard. In fact, I would probably say too hard to rely on an individual to make their review actually watchable without being like boring because they're very aware there's a camera in the face and they're
Mhm.
recording and it's just hard to do. I would be the way I would do it. I would chop it together and then start with I'd probably start with them on top because I think a lot of wedding videos, what I've noticed is that there's like a nice shot at the start and a lot of people tend to start with like a voiceover from a speech. So I would probably start with the video of the review so you know what the voiceover is. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, I think if I'm someone that's looking for a wedding videographer and I see a video and there's a voiceover, I'm just going to automatically think it's from the day. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I'll probably
Yeah.
start with that face to camera thing and then go to the shots of the video. But yeah, I think it would definitely work. I think it would work for sure.
I'm gonna try that, Adam, actually, because I actually sent a wedding to someone yesterday, and I'm gonna send them a voice note on what, because I have been speaking to them on WhatsApp, and I've never done that before, so I'm gonna go and implement it. So hopefully I can get a voice note back, and I'll get that on the website. Actually, Jamie, I was meant to send you a TikTok that I came across last night because it was really really strange, right? Because so Jamie, Adam, I don't know if you ever seen it in the Facebook group when we're talking about like adding things to your packages. Jamie's always pushing this package where charge 15 grand, 10 grand, whatever it is, just make it super expensive and
Did
have
someone
it.
do it?
No, but get this though, how strange is this, right? Not only did someone do the on TikTok, I think they might have been in America. So they've done a private showing, but they had a camera on the couple as they're watching it to get the reaction, right? But they used my song from my show reel of 2023 of last year. So they had exact same audio, and I thought, hang on. Now these guys in our group, and they've used my show reel audio, and they've nicked Jamie's idea.
Genius, good. That's what the group's for.
I was
So
I was
my idea, and I'm gonna put out there for those that haven't heard it, because I cannot see any negatives to it whatsoever, and there's only positives to be done. I would put on, let's say that your top package is £2,500. I would have a £7,500 one where the difference is that you hire a small private theatre and they get an intimate first viewing. And I'm talking about like a little, like up here in the Northeast, we've got like Tyneside Theatre in Newcastle, like somewhere like that where it's small, it's intimate. They get a viewing, but also exactly what I've said before, you can have cameras on them, so you can actually use that as a concept as well. And if nobody books it, then the worst thing that the least it does is makes your real top package look like less. So it's going to price anchor everything from like a business perspective. I just don't. I can't wrap my head around why people aren't doing it, including you, Billy.
It's just a logistics thing for me. Like,
It's not. I don't think there is a logistics thing. That's like saying if somebody books a £5,000 holiday, are they going to get there? Yeah. They're going to pay you about £8,000. Why would they not go?
I know. I know. Because you've also had Russell on the podcast as well. He gives couples the option to go to his house and watch it in his cinema room.
Really?
Oh, did he?
We didn't get into that when we're talking. It's funny because Jamie mentioned I should do that because I've got a screen and
he's got a cinema room. That's why he's sat in now. It's behind him.
I've got a screen below me, and Jamie said I could do that exact same thing. So maybe it's something I should test. I mean, I've been threatening the idea for 2 years now, and I've never, I've never actually done it. But actually, it's a good
allergic to money.
Right, yeah, right. I'd love it. Bring it all. I'm going to do a £15,000 package, and someone's going to book it. Just when we were talking there, we mentioned concepts a few times. If anyone's not sure when we're talking about a concept, what it is, basically when we run the Thunderdome system, which is the way we deliver our content when we're running Facebook ads, we come up with different concepts. So a concept might just be a confetti shot. It might be the couple walking down the aisle. It might be a groom reaction. It might be a mashup of all of that type of stuff. So when we're talking about concepts there, one thing that we might test is a concept of getting video testimonials. Just to clear that up, just if you're wondering if people listening were wondering what a concept actually was. But when we're talking about different packages, Adam, one thing I noticed is when I've checked your website out over the years, you've jumped from having packages with pricing, having no packages at all on your website, and I now notice that you've got packages with no pricing on. And I was just wondering because I got into this. I was
going to ask the same thing.
Yeah, well, I got into this conversation the other week. I think it was with Richard on the previous episode, and obviously, I feel like the people who are charging, say, 3-4K plus, don't seem to have the pricing on. But I feel like you're in a good pricing bracket for a lot of the listeners and the audience for the podcast. And I was just wondering, have you learned anything from the different tests that you've done? And what about tire kickers and things like that? If when you haven't got your pricing, just to clear up, actually, is tire kickers a Northeast thing? I'm talking about time wasters when I say tire kickers, by the way. But have you noticed anything, Adam, with the changes of that?
Yeah, so I think it's a big kind of topic of conversation, I think, with fellow videographers, whether or not you put your prices on your website. The reason I don't is because when my prices were online, and then I felt as though like some people were kind of not bothering inquiring. For me, I'd rather kind of discount a little package if someone's getting, married on a Thursday in February. So that's why I don't kind of put my prices on. But I think in terms of the way that I kind of deal with inquiries is I don't have my prices online, and I don't kind of give my prices out until probably about the third or fourth message. I do quite a lot of communication on WhatsApp, so basically I'll send. In fact, when it comes to the website, you'll know on the contact form I don't even ask where the venue is, and that's purely for a test purpose, just to find out if they respond straight away. Whether or not they're given the right kind of contact information. So my kind of process is I'll always ask where the venue is, ask a little bit about the ceremony, and then I'll say a start price. If you want any more information, let us know and I'll send you my packages. Because if people say, after you've given them the start price, if people say, I'll have a word with my partner or I'll get back to you, you kind of eliminate them from your sales process. And if people ask for the packages, then you know it's a bit more of a warmer lead. So that's the reason I don't have me packages on.
It's I can't remember if I got into this on the podcast or it was in a separate conversation, but I was definitely speaking to Richard about it, and he was basically saying that he doesn't have his packages on, and kind of what you were saying, because he was like, whether people admit it or not, he was like, he said that everyone discounts behind the scenes, but he would never discount in a public forum. But he's saying if someone came to him like on a Tuesday and it was a wedding and they were like, if I'm saying I'm starting at $7,000, the offer is $5,000. He's like, on a Tuesday, I'm going to take it. But one of the things that, and I kind of understand that in a way, I do get it. But one of the things that me and Jamie push quite a lot inside of our Facebook group when we're doing the weekly Facebook lives is like, we see too many people running discounts on the front end. So they're actually running ads saying 50% off, 30% off, prices starting from $495. And I think if you start from a discount like it, I know you're not doing that because you're not even showing your prices to like the third or fourth interaction with them. I feel like if you're discounting from the very beginning, you're putting yourself massively on the back foot, because I feel like a lot of people who are getting weddings don't necessarily want cheap. They want to know someone's high quality and they're going to do it well. Where I think if you start with a discount, you automatically kind of cheapen yourself from the outset. But one of the things I was just talking, he said a very similar thing to you. Really, it was like discount kind of behind the scenes if you can. But one thing that we always kind of get into is like talking about another option rather than discounting is like value stacking. So like you might pull something from like a top package and say, well, I'll not knock anything off the price, but I might give you like the drone footage for free, or I might give you the social media viral package where I edit vertical content for you. So we'll say we'll make a package more valuable rather than discounting. What do you find about the packages? Do you find you knocking a lot of discount from like midweek weddings, or is it just if they ask for it? How does that normally look?
I tend not to discount. It's very rare that I get, if, like I say, a Thursday in February. I tend not to discount. I know a lot of people kind of talk about, I've got so much availability, and they start to kind of discount too soon, like 18 months, 2 years down the line, because they're worried about not getting the bookings. But I think I just kind of, in terms of discounting, I'll add some add some value to it. Maybe say, I'll spend an extra hour at the venue, or I'll offer drone shots, or I'll do a social media teaser. Because I think in terms of like the social media teaser, it's more for us than it is for the couple. The social media teasers, like, if it's a 30, 45-second one, it's beneficial for our marketing purposes. It's beneficial for the venue's marketing purposes. So like I said, I don't kind of discount too much. And I think you've got to kind of hold your ground a little bit. I see so many, people on these kind of open kind of, not so much the groups like yourselves. It's more like, South Shields buy and sell and things like that, where people are saying like, oh, I'm looking for a videographer. And then you'll see somebody jumping on saying, I can do it from $499. And it's more about the price than it is about the service. A lot of it tends to be a bit more, a race to the bottom. I think basically because I follow the American market quite a bit, because I was the only videographer last year who went on the How to Film Weddings retreat with a couple of there was a couple of Scottish guys as well. But I think their market is about elevating it, whereas I think ours is sometimes can be a race to the bottom. And I think people who are charging, £300, £400, it kind of devalues the market quite a lot. So it's a bit. I'm more about kind of elevating than kind of and if I kind of see these kind of Facebook groups where people are saying, I'll do it for £400, and the next person I'll do it for £500, I don't even bother commenting.
Because you had
them kind of clients is not my client.
Yeah. You had an interesting concept actually, again, on your packages. I mean, I don't stalk you, by the way. I just do a lot of research on people in the like other people in the industry. But I think it must be about 18 months to 2 years ago, I seen that you had on your packages page that your cheapest package wasn't available during certain times. Am I right in that was you, wasn't it? Where you had the lowest package, you weren't able to book it between like...
Yeah, that was about 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that just popped in my head. I just remembered. So what? How did that work for you? Because
Yeah,
they couldn't book your lowest package, could they? During key the high season, basically.
yeah. And to be honest, I don't even think I got a booking from that. I don't even think I ever sold like a low package. But I think in terms of like when you talk about discounting, when you look at it like from a client point of view, people who get married in midweek in winter months, I think they're doing it purely because it's cheaper.
Hmm.
Whereas I would always say to other videographers, don't discount your package during school holidays. Don't discount it during the summer months, especially Saturdays. When it comes to discounting during school holidays, because that's when the teachers are getting married. They're the ones who've got a bit more budget than somebody who's getting married in a midweek in February and November. So yeah, but just like I said, just hold your prices and try to be consistent.
Hmm. Yeah, it's something that me and Jamie get into quite a lot on the weekly Facebook lives that we do. I see a lot of just posting loads of other Facebook groups as well. It's always a huge topic of conversation about like pricing, discounting, having prices on or off your website. It seems to be something that everyone, there's no kind of right or wrong answer, but I think
Everyone,
everyone needs to find the workflow. Um, so with you shooting so many weddings, then let's say you're shooting 40 plus, because I know that I see a lot of videographers and photographers talk about kind of getting burnt out and they could never shoot like 40, 50 weddings. What are you doing to manage that from like a workflow perspective?
so I'm a bit. I'm sure I've got ADHD or something like that. So basically, in terms of, I kind of edit when I'm on the adrenaline of the wedding video. So, for example, and this might sound quite crazy. If I've got a wedding on a Saturday, I'll get up at, sometimes I've even got up at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning to edit the wedding video when I'm kind of fresh in my mind. I think the biggest backlog I've ever had has been 4 weddings,
Wow.
and that's just because I went. That's just because I went away on holiday. But yeah, so I have to edit when I'm kind of in the motion of the wedding day, and I always think I edit faster when I can remember everything about the wedding day. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not trying to dislike other videographers or anything like that, but I've went back and edited. For example, a couple might have come back and, because I always upgrade. I try to upgrade the package as well, even if they book my lowest package. 90% of the time is I can go and upsell the package like for longer film, 2-3 months down the line. But I always find it hard to try and remember about the wedding day 2-3 months down the line, who the important, family members are. Whereas that's why I have to edit really quick, because I can remember everything about the day. I can remember, there was they were laughing during the speeches. There was a nice moment with the mother of the bride. So I have to pretty much kind of edit kind of straight away. And in the last 2 years, I've never worked on an edit after 6 o'clock at night. And yeah, and I see lots of people kind of saying that, the night owls and staying up till 2 o'clock to edit. I need to be in bed early before that. I cannot edit at that time of the day.
It comes up again. This is another conversation that comes up all the time because backlog's always a big conversation. But a lot of people will say that, why is it always the thought of doing the edit that's worse than actually doing it? And they'll say, like, when I actually start editing the wedding, like it's not a problem, but it's always the thought that's giving people kind of the anxiety and just putting things off.
Yeah,
Same thing
yeah.
for everything,
When it
isn't
comes
it?
to
It's
my
whatever
workflow,
you want to do.
Sorry, I think there's a
yeah.
bit of a
When it
backlog on
comes
the
to me
team.
workflow, when it comes to my workflow, basically, I know when I'm going to edit. So basically, I'll give myself a set amount of time to kind of edit ceremony, speeches, highlights, film, teasers. That I would probably say 90% of the time on a wedding day, before I go to bed, the ceremony and the speeches are edited, and that includes, audio mixing, that includes the color grading, that includes the camera mix, and I don't basically when it comes to ceremony speeches, I film with minimum 4 cameras. I cannot work less than three at a very minimum, but it's always 4 camera edit.
Well, why
And I
is that?
always
Do you want to get everyone's reaction and the right framing and stuff? Why would you, if somebody's using one or two? What are the what when did you switch and why did you switch?
when we first started, we started with two, and from a couple of years ago, I've got a great example where I was standing at the front of the the aisle, and when it came to, you may now kiss the bride, the registrar stood in front of my camera. So I missed it on mine. I missed it on the second one, but because there was a third camera, we got that. And there's been loads of times where, and I think it's good for photographers as well to kind of, I love, photographers will say, "Oh, is there any chance I can just stand in, where are you going to be standing?" And I'm pretty relaxed with photographers. I'll always say, "Oh, don't worry if you step in front of a shot because I've got another three camera angles which I can go to." I did a wedding probably about 2 years ago, and I shot the ceremony. Sorry, I shot the speeches with two cameras, and it was just because it was a quite an intimate one. But the problem I found that I had one camera on a monopod, I had one camera on a tripod, but when I went to move the one on the tripod, the monopod camera moved. So basically, both cameras were unusable for that shot. So that's why I shoot on minimum three, mostly four as well. My kind of ceremony kind of setup. So I think I carry probably about 7 different lenses with us on the day. So when it comes to the ceremony, I've pretty much got one looking at the bride, a wider one facing the groom from the other side, one at the back, and then I've got one which I carry handheld, and my handheld one is basically just so I can get reactions, and I shoot on it. For that one, I shoot on a Tamron, which is a 35 to 150 lens, because it's always on 150, trying to get those kind of close up reactions of the rings going on. People. I'm always looking out for people crying. I'm always looking out for people kind of laughing, and those kind of shots are more for the highlights film. Whereas often the ceremony and the speeches video is more for you just got to play that safe for that kind of edit and don't kind of be too kind of creative.
When you are when you're editing, then have you? So obviously, you say that you edit very quickly after a wedding. Are you editing all of the social media content at the same time, or is it something, right? You'll go like, right, I need to get this week's social media post. I'll go back to this wedding. Or are you chopping it all up in one go at the same time and then kind of filing it?
Yes, I think first and foremost, the client edits come first. I, um, I don't think it's right that if there's kind of social media edits kind of coming out before the clients have seen or the couple have seen the main video. So I've got it. My workflow is edit ceremony, speeches, feature film, which is the longer one, trailer, and I'd always do the highlights film last, because often everything from the feature film is kind of being cut up. And it's just a workflow that I'm all about saving time, trying to be as productive as possible. Whereas this year that I'm doing now is I'm trying to be a lot more kind of proactive with the social media clips, to the point where everything's going to be planned in terms of every wedding day. I've got I think it's just here. I think it's basically form for every single wedding for the content, which I can kind of write after the wedding and think, well, I've got some nice clips of the flowers. I've got some makeup shots, and just try to, be a bit more kind of proactive, because I think when weddings start to build up, you tend to, not be as productive.
I bought I bought a book, like just a plain notebook, and my plan was, because I've got all my mics and everything labeled, like what 1 to 6 for me different wireless mics, and my plan was I was going to start writing down what parts of the day who had what mic on, so when I come to edit it, it's easy. But I think I wrote one sentence in my book, and it's still blank. So I think it's something. I think being organized definitely helps with the editing side of things.
Yeah.
One of the things we got into, Adam, I don't know if you remember
Oh, can I
this, but
just, sorry, I was just going to say about the mics. I'm trying to find my mic bag. I don't know where the mics are gone. So basically, I've got I carry 11 mics with us,
11.
which is all the 11. So the TX 650, TX 660s, and I've got a couple of Tamrons as well. But every mic has got a purpose. So every mic has got a label. So it'd be like groom, best man, celebrant,
What a good
leader
idea.
one. Right, because for a few reasons, right? If I know Mike's gone missing, I know which person's had that mic. So there's times where you think, oh, and every mic's numbered, every mic's got me contact details on. And when it comes to, kind of as the file structure, for example, mic number 1 is the groom. It just goes in there, and I can easily find which recording it is, as opposed to, if you carry one mic and everything's on this kind of, MP3 recording, it's so hard to try and find what it is.
I thought I was super organized, having my mics labeled 1 to 6, and I never even thought about having a mic dedicated for each different person. That is that's a good idea. I think I'm gonna have to.
Have you seen? I tell you what. Obviously, I'm not a videographer, but I've seen someone labels the batteries, numbers the batteries, so that when they're charging them, they don't pick up the one that's just being plugged in or whatever it is. I thought
I
that
do
was
that.
pretty smart. Oh, do you?
I've got all my batteries numbered 1. I mean, I think I've got 10 batteries, so I've got them 1 to 10, and then I alternate. So one wedding, I'll start from 1 and go up, and then I might go 5 up, then I might go 10 down, just so every battery's getting used and they're going through cycles of actually being used as well. That's probably just, I don't have OCD.
I don't.
It's like the battery health thing, isn't it? To keep
I
you
don't.
working.
Yeah, I don't actually do that, but a good tip that I've got is I've got Peter McKinnon's battery pack, battery little kind of bag. So basically, what you do is you put like a little kind of sticker on the end of the battery, and you face it in your bag, whatever way, if it's empty or if it's charged. So you just have to look at your batteries and go, that's a charged battery.
I'm looking at it now. I'm just googling it now because I've never seen that before. So is it just for keeping batteries organized? Oh, it's a good idea.
It's for keeping batteries organized, yeah. So it's a little.
Because I'm always like this, me. I'm always like, right, I'm going to keep these batteries I've used in this side, and the ones that are fresh, I'm going to keep them in the box still. But I get to about 3 hours, 4 hours in, and then all of the batteries have just kind of gone all over the shop. And I'm like, oh, that's got charged, because it's so hectic at a wedding, isn't it? But I mean, having that is a good idea. I think a lot of people, a lot of photographers, videographers will probably organize the batteries better than I do. One of the things what I was going to say before is one of the things we got into. I don't even know if you remember this, but it was on you commented on one of the Facebook lives that me and Jamie were doing in the Get Seen Get Booked Facebook group, and we got into the conversation about like we were basically comparing like running paid ads on social media versus going to like wedding fairs and how you can kind of control the data much better. What I was interested in asking you really was, are you still doing wedding fairs? And if you're not, what was the last one that you shot? Like, can you talk with like bookings and how much it cost you and what you got from it?
Yes, I haven't got any plans for doing any kind of wedding fairs this year. My last one was about this time last year, where we met at the Newcastle Arena.
Mm-hmm.
And I might do a couple of venue showcase ones if I get invited to them. But I just find in terms like I know we kind of use the Newcastle wedding fair as an example. It might be like say like $2,000 for your stand. You're paying for staff. You're paying for all your marketing. You're paying for your people. I think people don't appreciate the time that it takes. I think people don't value the time when it comes to the business. Like for example, I'm going to jump back to what we talked about, like videographers charging £400 a video. In fact, I seen a post the other day where a videographer was offering the services for £150 because they weren't busy on that day. And you think, well, how many hours does it take? People need to kind of work out how many hours they're working on the wedding, they're working on the edit, working on the customer service, and you've got all the on costs as well. So you've got all the equipment costs, you've got insurance cost, any kind of training, education, which has all been an investment into your business. But yeah, so people need to start working, thinking about how much value the time a little bit, because and I know people will say like, oh, it's the same value as working in like Sports Direct and things like that, but people need to start understanding that if you want a long-term kind of business, you need to be starting to think like long-term in terms of like what you want to be paid. But I'm just jumping back onto the question about the wedding fair. I think when I did the Newcastle Arena one, I think maybe got about 6 or 7 bookings, and we kind of worked out on the live that it was probably about £600 acquisition cost maybe for each kind of booking. And I'd rather if you're going to be, going to a wedding fair and, you know, it's costing 600, 700 quid a booking. I'd rather just discount it and stay at home than spending 2 days standing at a stand.
Well, I know when we got into this conversation, Jamie, I'll let you kind of go over this one, but one of the things, and because I knew as soon as we got into it, I knew Jamie's brain was going to go straight to the numbers of comparing the Facebook ads, because Jamie's very much a numbers guy and
He
data
was
driven with
possessed, wasn't he?
it. Yeah, Jamie's
I don't
Jamie's
even
eye.
remember this conversation.
So the conversation, just to refresh you, because I'll let you talk over it, was we started to compare, right? That if the CPM, which is cost per 1,000 impressions from a wedding fair, and we compared that to how if you'd spend $3,000 on Facebook ads, and we're talking about how like the Newcastle Arena. What did we say, Adam? That you might, how many people over the weekend might you get there?
There was probably about 2,000, couple of thousand people who were there.
So there's probably about 2,000 people there over the weekend. So like you're basically paying, like, let's say every single person come to your stand, which never happens in a million years. If you're paying $3,000 on each day, you're basically paying £1,500 for every 1,000 people to come. So what we started to get into in the Facebook Live was how those impressions of $3,000 would convert into social media ads.
Yeah, and I think the value and the way that the impression is received as well is a bit more impactful. Like, I think people argue, for me, if you are exhibiting at a wedding fair, for it to be worth doing in my eyes, and even similarly at like a business event, we see all these business shows and that, I think you've got to be fairly skilled at face-to-face sales. Otherwise, you're just banking on your baby of a business, like the thing that you're passionate about, which is understandable. Everybody is. I think people just bank on the fact that, well, I love this so much, everybody else is going to love it so much, and I think that's one of the big things that blinds a lot of people with wedding fairs. Again, I think it's the impression people. I think there's not a holistic view approach. Like, they just think that my stand's going to be amazing, but they don't picture the stand amongst all of the other stands, and the fact that somebody else might have a giant, something else that's much more visually attractive. And even if you can stand out, you can only talk to one person at a time as well at a wedding fair. Like, somebody might hang around and then walk away, and somebody else might convert them.
One thing I've massively noticed, Jamie, right, is that, especially in the wedding industry, right, is that when I'm surfing all the different groups and I'm looking at conversations, I always see people say the Facebook ads don't work, and I spent £500 on Facebook ads and it didn't work. And I've never, ever seen a post, anyone complaining that they spent £500 at a wedding fair and didn't get any bookings.
Work. Yeah, because, and I think the reason that's such a good point. And I think the reason is because people get to go out and showcase their business, and that feels like a win. That the whole, I think, the day of doing all of that and even talking to people, just face to face talking to people, even if they don't book, I think for a lot of people that feels like a win. Whereas similarly, the reverse of that on digital would be somebody visiting your website. And of course, that's not a win. That costs you money, and it all costs you money. I'm not saying don't do wedding fairs. Like, certainly you could certainly do the free ones. I think if you're more skilled, the more skilled in face-to-face sales you are, I think the better you can invest in paid wedding fairs if you want to do. But yeah, if you're gonna, I mean, just those numbers alone, like $3,000 at the arena wedding show for 1,500 people, £1,500 per 1,000 versus what you're going to pay on Facebook, £10 a 1,000, maybe, like top end.
I don't think the cost was $3,000. I mean, Adam, I think we got the $3,000 number from the. Did you work out on the Facebook Live? Did you say it was something like, I don't know, like £1,200 entry? I know you had another member of staff with you there that you probably had to pay. You worked in your time cost of the actual full day. That's where we got to the $3,000 from. But even if you I think
it pretty much was about $3,000 by the time you factor in staff costs, all your marketing materials, all your your stand costs, and 2 days of it. Well, 2.5 days every time, because half a day was setting up.
Yeah, because we know because people will be going, well, what are you talking about? It's not $3,000 to go to a wedding fair, but those are the hidden costs? I think they're just costs that people don't take into consideration, like printing out your leaflets and like setting your stands up in your actual time. People aren't doing that. I mean, like Jamie said there, we're not saying don't do wedding fairs. I mean, after all, this is a marketing podcast for wedding photographers and videographers. So, and if wedding fairs are working for you, don't change anything. But if they are working for you, I think to your point, Jamie, the people that are kind of performing and getting success from the fairs are probably good at face-to-face sales. But if you aren't getting any bookings from wedding fairs, I know that a common theme is that people aren't very good at collecting data. So they're not like using QR codes, and they're not getting phone numbers, they're not getting email addresses, which pretty much means after that conversation's ended, if you're not collecting details from people who are getting married from a fair, the likelihood of them following you up is very unlikely, because we know just off like just sales in general that people need about 12 touch points before they'll become a lead and buy something. This is just across like different industries. So if you compare a wedding fair to running Facebook ads, like especially if you're running the Thunderdome system that we implement for delivering the content on social media, people get served different ads on different days at different times, where wedding fair is very much a one-shot snapshot. And then if you don't make a huge impression or close a sale, you're probably going to lose them. So I'm not saying don't do wedding fairs, but just work out how much money one is actually costing you and how you could kind of push that budget into social media advertising.
Yeah, definitely. I think the complexity. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when it comes to wedding fairs for especially with videographers, it's hard because people cannot see the product that you're offering, because they might, if you've got a highlights film running, they might kind of only enter, from about 1 minute of the video on, and they can't hear anything. Whereas if you go to a photographer's stand, you've got something in your hand to kind of pick up, and it's just one kind of moment in time. Whereas with the Facebook ads that you run, you've got their attention, because that's the only thing that they, when you hit the Facebook ads, it's from start to finish, and you've got the option to watch it from start to finish. You might only spend like 10 seconds. But when it comes to wedding fairs, I kind of found that it was quite hard to try and speak to some people who just weren't interested, and they didn't kind of, a lot of people who are thinking about wedding videos are thinking, they come when they're looking at getting married, they've kind of got the old notion of what the parents' kind of wedding videos were like. So it's kind of one kind of, granddad standing in the corner, uncle standing in the corner with a massive camera, just basically shooting with one kind of shot, for 10 minutes and moving on to the next one. Whereas it is hard to try and like engage with people who, it's hard to try and convince them at a wedding fair, because they cannot see the full product.
I always feel like like I'm one of them salesmen, like trying to sell like a TV or something, and like I feel like a lot of the time people have got like a guard up when you speak to them. I mean, yeah. I don't have a lot of experience in terms of comparing wedding fairs, because I just get all my leads through social ads, through Facebook and Instagram meta ads. But I have done the Newcastle Arena one twice, and if I work out like my cost per booking from both times I've done that, it hasn't been worth me while. Where like I've probably been more at the £500-600 per booking if you take into consideration all of the costs that associate with the wedding fair, all your marketing material. I got these pop-up banners done. Funny enough, I tidied my loft after Christmas, right after New Year, when I was putting the Christmas tree away, and I found all of my old flyer. Do you know what? I should have took a photograph of it. And I looked at the flyer and I thought, what on earth was I doing there? And I must have thrown. There must have been 1,000. So I must have bought 1,000, and there's probably like 950 in the box still. Looking at that, I was thinking, what on earth was I doing? It was back in 2017, I think, or 2018 when I done it. But I had a good laugh when I was when I was looking at me pop-up banners, and I threw it all out. I got rid of it all, because if I ever did do a wedding fair again, I would totally change the messaging and have QR codes and how I capture the data. And not only that as well, at wedding fairs, if you are going to capture data, this isn't just for wedding fairs, this is just on if you're running ads anyway, you've got to have a follow-up sequence as well, because like I touched on before, people need multiple touch points. So when you've got the email of the bride or groom or the people who are getting married, you then need to be able to follow up with them, send them like emails and get them excited and try and really entice them to book a Zoom or a phone call. Were you going to say something there before, Jimmy? Because I think there was a bit of a lag on the stream.
If I was, I can't remember.
It's gone. Adam, I know that I see.
I was going to say, if you're a videographer and you're thinking about doing the wedding fair, if you're a videographer and thinking about doing the wedding fair, the day that you're at the wedding fair, your social media has to be shit hot, because that's a perfect opportunity. If people are going looking for you, there's no point in going to a wedding fair and you're not posting anything during the day. So if you're at a wedding fair, maybe be posting, stories about you being there, little clips from your wedding, because they're all touch points as well. There's no point in, you've got one opportunity to kind of try and engage with them. I also, when I did the wedding fair, I set up a workflow on Studio Ninja, which basically went, they automatically got an email on the night of the wedding fair just saying, "Oh, thanks so much for lovely speaking to you. If you need any more information, here's me information, or here's me website." And the one thing that I did at wedding fairs as well is I had the QR, not the QR, the NFC tags. So basically, everyone who came up to us, I got them following us on social media pretty much straight away, because then, and wedding fairs, especially the arena one, there's probably about 250 people there, whereas your average wedding fair, there might be 50. So it's, you potentially have 50 people trying to get in touch with you at any one point. And it becomes overwhelming for a lot of couples when you think, oh, I just want these people to stop contacting us.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose just to kind of to wrap everything up, Adam, and tie it together, one of the posts I seen, I think it might have been this week that you put on social media, is you've got a new. Is it a digital product? Is it? Do you want to tell us about it? The pose book, I think it was called.
Yeah, so this was an idea that I had probably about a year and a half ago, and I filmed it last August, I think. No, it was last May, and I just kind of sat on it for such a long period of time. So I've launched a new little pocket. It's called the Little Pocket Pose Book. So basically, it's both a digital copy and it's also a printed copy as well. So it fits in your pocket. I think it's more suited for photographers and videographers who are just new to the market. So basically, there's about 56 different poses in there, and it's also got prompts in as well, which kind of, if you're standing there, it says, groom, wrap her up, your cheek on her hair, bride, hand on the shoulder, eyes softly shut. And I just think it's a nice little kind of product which you can keep in your pocket for weddings, and it's a visual aid as well, so you can kind of say to the couple. And I've used it. I did a test one before I launched this, and it's much easier kind of showing the bride and groom a little kind of pose which they can kind of replicate. So I've got that on sale. It's digital and printed version. It's on sale at Etsy, but also all of the poses are free to watch on YouTube as well. So just type in Little Pocket Pose Book and you'll be able to see lots of different poses and ideas.
So go and check that out if you're kind of new, or you might not even be new. You might just want some fresh ideas. Go and check out the Pocket Pose Book. Have I said that right? Is that what it's called?
Pocket Pose Book. Bit of a tongue twister.
The Pocket Pose Book. Jamie, anything you want to wrap the podcast up with? Anything you want to finish on before we end the podcast today?
No, I don't think so. I think it's been a really good insight. I think I don't want to round off. I don't want to hop all the way back to the wedding fair thing, but I think it's a really good. I think the way that you post your content as well, Adam, is actually one question I've got as well before I go into that bit. I've just noticed, and I'm chopping and changing here. One thing that I didn't ask you is, do you have any new or newer? I don't know if it would come into the term of your pose book, like as a pose, but I seen it was at night time and everybody's got sparklers and like the couple are walking through. What kind of new scenes like that have you seen cropping up lately?
New in terms of new like kind of shots and that.
Like I like new shots like that because I think it's very attention grabbing, and I think it could like opening like social content with that shot and grabbing attention with those kinds of shots is really it would be really good. But obviously it's very powerful in the wedding video itself, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think one of last year's trends was the Prosecco kind of tower where everyone was kind of. I think you've basically just got to kind of look at what the latest kind of trends are for wedding videos, but at the same time, is not kind of replicate too much because there's no point in kind of doing the same thing over and over again.
Over and over.
Yeah. But just like look at trends. I'm a kind of a big kind of follower of the the American market, and I always think like the Americans are probably 2, 3, 4 years ahead of what we're doing. But yeah, so I follow quite a few. Like I said this time last year, I was in Palm Springs with How to Film Weddings, and I was there with like some amazing wedding videographers. I don't know if you know them, like White and Reverie and I'm trying to think, the Rev Films were there. I would check out their kind of work, and also as well as I was there with Catherine from Blink Films. Now, if you're wedding videographer, check out Blink Films on Instagram. She has got the best. I think she created the best wedding video ever.
Wow.
It's a proper 90. I think it's about 17, 90 minutes. So basically, what happened was she was booked to film a wedding, and she about 2 or 3 weeks before the wedding, one of the parents died, so they went down to the beach to scatter the ashes before the wedding, and as they're scattering the ashes, dolphins appeared in the sea, and it's such a powerful video. But yeah, check out like I said, there's, and also as well education. It's great, kind of, you need to keep on top of the marketing side of things, but you also need to keep on top of your education. I've been, my first wedding video was 27 years ago, and I still, do various different courses just to try and keep yourself keep you fresh as well. Because I think, obviously trends change all the time.
Yeah.
And I see, I see a lot of kind of videographers who've been around, say 30, 40 years, and the style hasn't changed, and they're just doing the same kind of thing. And if you want to kind of maintain your business, you just need to kind of, educate yourself, whether it's learning new techniques or learning, a lot about the business side of things. But there's quite a few good education courses out there, like for example, like Adam Wing's, obviously the Philip White one, which was hugely successful, but it seems like every videographer kind of copied the style. After that, obviously how to film weddings as well. I know you mentioned about Richard Leng, who's been on the podcast. He does clarity workshops as well, so they're quite a good one to go to.
Mm-hmm. What's the name of the just because I was just googling it as you were talking about Blink Films there, but there's a few different ones that came up.
Yeah, so Blink spelled BLNK Films.
So it is. Is it Blink Films UK or they're American?
Also, they're based in America. So let's have a look. So
just for people listening, they can go and check it out.
Catherine, yeah. So Blink
Magic.
So it's basically BLNK Films. That's on Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, BLNK.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got it there. So it's BLNK Films. So Blink without the I, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Just so I make sure people have got the right one to go and check it out, and I'll be certain to go and check out some of her work. What was the workshop that you actually done then? Was it about improving your style as a wedding videographer?
So it was lots. So basically, it was a 1 year kind of mastermind course that we did. So every week, it was quite hard because obviously the time difference, where some of the courses were on at 2:00 in the morning. So it had various different speakers on who were kind of like doing one-to-one sessions. Like for example, like Matt Johnson, obviously White and Reverie. I think this year Russell's on it as well. And it was basically just trying to improve yourself and trying to elevate yourself. When I went across to Palm Springs with a couple of guys from Scotland, like I said, there was probably about 60 different videographers on. Also, who did the course as well as a guy called, I think it's Brendan, who basically, you've probably seen it last year, where there was an introduction to a wedding video where the seagull had a crab.
Oh yes, I have seen this. Yeah.
So he was on that as well, and it was just about trying to elevate yourself. When I went there, basically, me and the two UK guys, we were the cheapest, the wedding videographers by far. The American market's such a, you're probably talking 10, average price is probably 5, 10K. And I know some people are charging like 30, 35 grand per wedding.
Yeah. It's a different kettle of fish altogether. I remember seeing someone post in the group saying they were passing on an £80,000 wedding referral in Dubai because the couple couldn't meet their payment schedule or budget, whatever it was. And I was like, I'm in the wrong job. I just see, my thing is though, like I know it sounds great, like see you talking about 80 grand weddings and stuff, but they're not just kind of single shooters like we are. It's like a Netflix. It's got to be like a
production team,
Netflix documentary, and I'm like, I'm not interested in doing that at all. Definitely not. Maybe when we were just before we moved on to that workshop, that you were going to talk about just comparing the like wedding phase and stuff, just to kind of wrap everything up with.
Oh yeah. So I think it's with wedding phase, I think definitely they can definitely still be beneficial, but I just think that, especially from what Adam was saying about his experiences as well, I think everybody should certainly take a look to have a really big picture view of everything and take into account not just your time, but I think the newness and the perceived perplexity of setting up Facebook ads is what puts people off, and they'd rather the same £500 that they might, let's say it's wasted at a wedding fair, they wouldn't dare waste it at a Facebook ads. Do you know what I mean? Like they wouldn't. All the other way, if they've tried Facebook ads before and it hasn't worked, they'd spend twice as much at a wedding fair and they wouldn't say that it hadn't worked, like you were saying, Billy. So I think it's about, one of the things that I do want to get across as well is that I think everybody assumes that whatever ad they set up is just because their work is part of it, and the ad is golden. And it's definitely not the case, and that's why we talk about going over so many elements of ads and stuff inside of the group. But yeah, definitely, if anyone else has got any questions for Adam, you're in the Get Seen Get Book group, aren't you, Adam? Or you must be, yeah.
I'll just I was just saying Instagram's Adam Chetter Films as well, if anyone wants to reach out.
Perfect.
Amazing. Perfect. And if you're not inside of the Get Seen Get Booked Facebook group, me and Jamie go live every single Wednesday, and we're always answering your questions around marketing in general, but a lot of the time we're getting to the social ad side of things. But we talk about email marketing, how you follow up, how to optimize landing pages. So if you haven't joined that free group, make sure you do. Like I said, we do go live weekly. But Adam, thanks so much, mate, for jumping on today's podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. And anyone who wants to go and check out Adam's little pose book, go and have a look and follow him up on Instagram as well. Thanks for jumping on, Adam. Appreciate it, mate.
Thank you very much.